Joe talks about Joe. And now, your host, Joe Slepsky.
Hello again, everybody, and welcome back to Joe on Joe. It's me, your host, Joe Slepsky, and this is the G.I. Joe podcast, where I go over every issue of G.I. Joe Real American Hero, every cartoon of G.I. Joe Real American Hero, every episode of Sunbow, DIC, Extreme we've done. We are going to be going back to cartoons some point in this year, but right now, welcome back to another episode of Joe on Joe Illustrated. We are covering G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero 116 today. That is exciting. You'll remember last week we took a brief deviation and we covered the fantastic Saturday Morning Adventures comic book that just came out. And now we're stepping back in time, stepping back to the era of September of 1990, or cover dated of September of 1991. And technically would have been May of 1991, where this issue was on the cover, or was on the stands. The cover, of course, is Destro. I believe it's that great Brian Steelfreeze Destro, and it's really nice. It's a really nice looking cover. I'm a fan of it. He is wanted. It is Destro Search and Destroy Part 1 of 3. We're going to talk a little bit more about the cover when we get to it. And of course, we're going to do some of our segments before we get to that. But in G.I. Joe news, what we got to talk about is there was a nice big reveal on Hasbro last week. They showed concept art for, let's see, what was there? There was Zorana and Bazooka and Dusty. We're finally getting a Dr. Mindbender, which I adore. They also had the pre-orders going for that, and they announced and pre-ordered the Megatron Hess packaged with Baroness, which for my guys, that it's an actual transforming Hiss tank turns into Megatron. That is something I think we've all wanted for our entire lives. So that was very exciting, and hit that pre-order button real quick. They had some nice Viper army building packs and etc. and so on and so forth. So that was really great last week. Also, I'm excited to report that we finally got together with a couple of my good Joe bros, Jeremiah Stafford and Paul Galliano. You could follow Paul at the Paul G on Instagram, Twitter. He's great. He's an actor. He does occasionally he'll throw in some cosplay. He does a great the Baron, which is a masculine version of the Baroness. And he's also been known to do a Cobra Commander every once in a while. He's a huge Cobra Commander fan. And Jeremiah has just simply the most stunning not comic book, but action figure collection. The most stunning action figure collection you're ever going to see. They've both been guests on the show, frequent guests and longtime friends now. And we got together and played the Renegade Games trading card game, or the deck building game, rather, not trading card, deck building game. And, well, first of all, top notes, we enjoyed it. It's a well-done game. Good job, Renegade. We absolutely enjoyed playing it. Here's what we learned, is that since none of us have ever played a deck building game before, really, and we're old, or at least two of us are, we didn't know what we were doing. It took so long. It was a 5-hour game. I think that game is supposed to go about an hour and a half. Guys, I'm not even kidding you. I was the instruction guy, so listen, all fault rolls on my shoulders. It was so painful to figure it out, but once we did, we had a lot of fun. There's a lot of fun in it, especially a lot of G.I. Joe fun, deep in the lore, and it sparks great conversations, etc., and so on and so forth. But, wow. So I would suggest, if you are interested in playing this deck building game, and before you get together with your pals, whoever owns it, absolutely needs to play, because you can play it solo. You need to play some solo rounds to figure it out, because I did not do that. And it's no Candyland. Let's put it that way. It is no Candyland. I almost rage quit very early in the game and set up the old G.I. Joe what's the name of it? The command game, the command center game, where with the giant board in the squares, like a chessboard, like a checkerboard, and you march across, and it's got the 3D bivouacs, and you can use your real 3 3/4 figures. I almost did that. That's how frustrated I was with this game. But I knew if we quit, we would never finish it, and we did finish it, and we did beat Cobra, and it was a lot of fun. We had a great time. We talked Joe all night. It was fabulous. But the game is fun. And you know what? Here's the deal. If you've played these deck building games before, which we haven't, it's probably absolutely easy and plays pretty much probably just like every other deck building game. It was just, that was a new experience for us. So we'd never done that. So we didn't really grasp the concept of what it, like the mechanics and how it was trying to help you and how it was trying to hinder you. And, so it was pretty comical. Like, it took way longer than it should have. But I recommend it though. Renegade Games. I believe that's also the studio. They announced they are doing a new board game style G.I. Joe game. That was also on the feed last week. So be on the lookout for that. That looks a lot of fun too. And those are a little more traditional, where you get a board. I know that it was like different scenarios. Those games we've played, those games I get, and they're similar to the card games. They're just different. We did notice that there was one small error, and it's the only error really we found in the pack. There's a card that is labeled as barbecue, as far as like the actual soldier barbecue, but it's got a picture of, we think it's Clutch. It's probably Clutch. It's Clutch or Breaker, but we believe it's Clutch. And he actually is barbecuing. Like, he's holding barbecue tongs. And someone on the Renegade team must have thought that meant it was barbecue time. So, but then they give him a vehicle bonus. So it's got to be Clutch. So anyway, it's not barbecue. So that's a fix. That'd be cool if they put a fix out for that. But no, otherwise, no complaint. It's a fun game. You guys should really check it out. And, and then one non-G.I. Joe thing to bring up. This is the 1st of March. So you guys are going to hear this 2 days before it opens. Saw Batman last night. It's great. It's amazing. It's definitely 3 hours. Like, they're not fooling. It's not like a bait and switch. They're not like telling you it's 3 hours, then they're going to surprise you with a 90-minute film. No, it's 3 hours. So be prepared for that. I would say not get a large soda, but I enjoyed it. Loved it. It's awesome. So, if you hear this and you want any spoilery questions or you want to talk about it, hit me up on social media, which you can do at Joe on Joe Pod. That is on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Send me an email to joeandjoepod@gmail.com. And if you want to help support the show, you can go to patreon.com/joeonjoepod. I've had a couple new patrons join the mix. Thank you guys so much. A couple returners, a couple new ones. You guys are fantastic. Your help keeping the lights on, and it's really great. I heard from Jesse McCullough last week. It's great to hear from you. Yeah, it's awesome. It's a good time to be a Joe fan, and I'm really digging it. I'm really loving the community right now. So I hope you guys are too. Now, speaking of that, it's so funny. There was a tweet put out last night about what was it about? It was about something about the worst action figure of 1991, and it was put out by our Twitter friend Battle Armor Dad. Battle Armor Dad, if you're hearing this, shout out. If you guys aren't following him, you should. He talks a lot of good G.I. Joe stuff. It's Battle Armor Dad 1, and he calls Grunt arguably the worst Joe figure from that year. My contention was it's the version of Cobra Commander that we get introduced to in this issue. So the reason I bring this up is that's so funny, the timing of that the day that I'm like, I don't know about that Cobra Commander is terrible, is the day that I'm covering his debut in this book. So we get a new version of Cobra Commander in this as well, with the red face, which we'll talk about once we get into it. Before we do get into it, let's take a listen to our fantastic sponsors. With Oscar season coming up and Hollywood's biggest night, and the SAG Awards were just last week. I'm sure our friends over at the Movies and a Meal podcast are going to have something to say about that on their weekly podcast.
Listeners, I know what you need in your life. You need more podcasts. And you also love movies. So why not do a podcast that's about not one movie, it's about not two movies, it's about 3 movies and a meal. I'm talking the Movies and a Meal podcast. This show is great. It's brought to you by Keith, Brad, and Ben, and each week they bring a new movie to the table, which they all discuss as a group. And it's not, your highfalutin movies. It's What We Do in the Shadows, The Fantastic Four, Rise of the Silver Surfer, and Out of Sight. You know, it's Bad Education, Ghost Rider, and A View to a Kill. It's X-Men Last Stand, Queen Sugar, The Mandalorian, and Major League 2. They are a lot of fun to listen to. You guys know Ben. It's our friend Ben Pensarga. He was a guest on Joe and Joe. In fact, Ben was the very first remote guest that I ever had on this podcast, so he's always got a special place in my heart. I'm really digging this. I just started listening to it last week. It is a lot of fun. They bring a guest in. The guest, I listened to their Heathers episode. They were joined by Kelly, and she went in depth on her favorite movie, which was Heathers, and it made me want to go watch Heathers to watch with them. I really dig it. So guys, find them out there at Movies and a Meal, Twitter, Instagram. Their website is moviesandameal.podbean.com. They put out one episode a week. Give them a listen, guys. Support them. Let them know Joe on Joe sent you. I don't think you're going to be disappointed. It is quite entertaining. And now back to the show.
They really are tremendous. You guys make sure you give them a listen. So without any further ado,
You were saying?
we are going to check in with other comic books that were on the shelves the same month that G.I. Joe number 116 was on the shelf. That's September, cover dated September of 1991, and month-wise was May of 1991. So we'll start over at DC Comics here. We've got Buddy Baker streaking on the cover of Animal Man number 39. He's running with a pack of wolves. That's always fun. It appears that Superman appears to be fighting the Parasite. Let me expand that. My eyes are garbage. It looks like he's fighting Parasite on the cover of. Yeah, I don't. You know what? To be honest, I'm not sure if that's Parasite. He's purple and he's glowing. That's typically Parasite, but his face looks different. But it says The Planet Strikes. I have a feeling it's probably not Parasite. It's probably some other purple glowing dude punching Superman in the face. Rose and Thorn are over in Action 669, and that's if you're a fan of the Modern Legion. Bendis tried to make Rose and Thorn, who is the same person, blah blah blah, kind of a thing with Legion and time travel. I hope they never go back to that because I don't understand it. But she shows up in Superman in Action 669. Batman. Oh yeah, Mosaic continues with Jon Stewart, Mark Bright doing the covers. You guys, I've talked about that before. Mosaic is a fantastic. This is a good one. Justice League 54. This is part of the Breakdowns run where it was the end of the Giffen DeMatteis like funny Justice League era, and there was this massive, I think it was like 16-part crossover, and it appears to be part 3, I believe. But what's great about it is it's an homage to Spider-Man was a 50, where Spider-Man puts his suit in the dumpster, in the garbage can, and he walks away, and you get Blue Beetle's suit and Ice's suit in a garbage can as they walk down the street. I'd love to, and they're both wearing like trench coats. I'd love to see Ice in a trench coat and Blue Beetle just in his boxers. I feel like that would be more appropriate. I actually have a page from one of the Breakdowns issues by Adam Hughes, Ken McGuire. Yeah, Ken McGuire. It's a Ken McGuire page, and I love it. It's one of my cherished properties. But I love Justice League. So to see it coming to an end, it's bringing a tear to my eyes. Lobo is squaring off against Captain Marvel over in Legion 31. This is in the War of the Gods run. So now we've got a lot of War of the Gods crossovers happening. A lot of Star Trek comics this month. Yep, it's War of the Gods number 1. Now, speaking of War of the Gods, this is the big giant Wonder Woman crossover by George Perez, who left, as we're going to see over at Marvel, he left working on Infinity Gauntlet to go work on War of the Gods. So might as well.
You were saying?
Jump over to Marvel Comics, because that's where we're going to find that out. If we expand this page and scroll down a little bit, we see that Infinity Gauntlet, there it is, number 3, was George's last issue on it. And I believe it was his last issue. I don't believe Ron Lim started till next issue. Yeah. And so this was the last one. And historically, it was like he was given a choice. And I've read it, actually recently read it in an interview where he basically said he thought more of the idea of War of the Gods. I don't mean to misquote him, so I apologize if I'm doing that. But like he was more excited about doing War of the Gods than Infinity Gauntlet. He didn't think that he thought the other one had a little more, import. So he dropped out. And I passed it to Ron Lim, who did a fabulous job following up on him. But, who is a George Perez? I did see an update on him. If you guys are following the George Perez saga, he did come home. He was in hospice for a little bit, but they were able to get him home recently as of this recording. And he's still smiling and still sharing updates on social media. God bless him. If you guys aren't aware, George is dealing with terminal cancer. And he has chosen to go out without the kind of treatment that would extend his life but make it very unenjoyable. So he is making the most of his last days and seeing everybody and spending time with everybody. He's really an inspiration artistically and just spiritually. He's a fantastic person. I've been a longtime fan of his work, and the more I learned about him over the years, the more I became a fan of him and just the kind of man he is. So if you're not aware of that already, check out his Facebook page. He does regular updates pretty much daily on there when he can. And give a lot of love to George Perez because he's just a pillar, just an absolute pillar. So over at Marvel Comics, September of 91, when G.I. Joe 116 was on the rack, Adventures of Captain America #1. This, in my opinion, is one of the long-forgotten, almost travesty that it's forgotten miniseries. This is, I believe it is written by it's Fabian Nicieza and Kevin Maguire. And Maguire penciled the first 3 issues, and the 4th issue, he was so late on it. It hurt the deployment of it. But this is Captain America Year 1 is what this is. And I'm not fooling when I say it's just a gorgeous, gorgeous book. I don't understand why it never, why it just doesn't have the kind of reverence that the rest of, some of these other like origin books like a Batman Year 1 get. I'm just looking forward ahead a little bit. And the 4th issue was penciled by Steve Carr and Kevin West. Yeah, if I recall. Kevin Maguire dropped out. He may have done like layouts or something for the 4th. But it is an absolute wonderful book. And there was, if you guys enjoyed the Captain America movie, the very first one, they took a ton of that movie from this book, specifically this 4-issue miniseries. It's one of those books that should be perennially in print. Everyone should be reading it. It's fantastic, and I love it, and I've always loved it. So seek out Adventures of Captain America #1, Fabian Nicieza and Kevin Maguire. That's not even an oversell. It's that good. It is so good, and it's one of those I do not understand why it doesn't get the love. Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey #1. That's awesome. I love Bill and Ted's. I love Keanu. That's everything about it is of course right up my alley. Simonson. No, actually, this is a fill-in issue in the middle of Simonson's run on Fantastic Four. 356. We actually have a fill-in issue, or is this the start of the next run? I'm sorry. I feel like it's a fill-in issue. Let's see. I don't think Simonson finished his whole run yet. I think. Oh, maybe. Hold on, because maybe it's the start. Maybe last issue was the end of the Simonson run. Yeah, it was. I apologize. I missed it. Yeah, last month was the end of the Simonson run. On Fantastic Four, so this is the first start of that new Tom DeFalco, Paul Ryan team, which they would go on to be on the FF book for a long time. So this is, what was this issue, 357? I think they're on the FF for the next 45, 50 issues, which is a long time. That's 4 years of FF. This is a good one. Avengers, Death Trap, The Vault. This is actually an original graphic novel, and it's got all the bad guys in the Vault, which is the big superhero breakout, superhero prison, Supermax prison. They all break out at the same time, and the Avengers have to stop them. And it's kind of one of the first times that Venom actually mixed with the Marvel Universe beyond just Spider-Man, which is neat. This is another book that goes under the radar. It's good. I know they've reprinted it, but it's not readily available. I've picked it up. I finally picked up the graphic novel in like the last 5 years or something and read it and enjoyed it. Really enjoyed it quite a bit. Punishers, She-Hulk. Oh, the Terminator 2, Judgment Day adaptation is on the shelves. Oh, I love me some Terminator 2. That's really cool. Oh, this is a favorite. Okay, we'll wrap with this one. Wonder Man Volume 2, Number 1. Wonder Man Volume 1 was a one-shot that they did a few years before this, maybe in 86 or something, 87. And Wonder Man Volume 2 is his ongoing series. I believe it ran around 18 issues. I love it. I think it's really, really good, and it's fun, and it's funny, and it's Simon Williams, who is one of my favorite B-level B-level superheroes, and it's Jeff Johnson penciled it. Oh man, it was written by Gerard Jones. Man, oh man. Man. So what I'm finding, that's a problem. Google, adults in the room, if you're listening, Google him. He's in jail now for doing bad things. But man, I forgot that he wrote this series. I can't recommend this series. I mean, art and artists and stuff. But yeah, it's tough. So this book will never be reprinted. That's what sucks about this, guys. Marvel's never going to reprint this book because then they have to give him royalties. The same reason why DC doesn't reprint a lot of their Green Lantern. This era of Green Lantern, late 80s, early 90s, because Gerard Jones was writing those. So they started to reprint them, and someone pointed out that, hey, when you reprint them, you have to pay royalties to this guy. And so DC, there's not a lot of those in print. They avoid it whenever possible. And I think we're probably going to see the same thing with Wonder Man. Now, I say that, wait till they do Wonder Man in the movies, and then they're going to come out with a Wonder Man book, and then people are going to point it out, and then Marvel's going to point and retract. Mark my words. They'll try to slip it by, and then Disney will pull back on it, and then the book will never get released because everyone will say, hey, Disney, do you know that when you publish this book, money's going to go to this guy? Which is a shame, because this is actually a good book. I do enjoy it. That's a dumb bummer. Let's get out of this bummer.
You were saying?
Let's go to movies. In May of 1991. Oh, they released Citizen Kane. That's awesome. No, it's a re-release, actually. Yeah, it's actually a re-release on May 1st. They re-released Citizen Kane, and they must have done it in the theaters. That's fun. I love Citizen Kane. It's, I'm not going to sit here and tell you not to watch Citizen Kane. I'm not going to be that guy. It's overrated. No, Citizen Kane's really, really good. On the 3rd, A Rage in Harlem, which, had Forrest Whitaker, Danny Glover. I didn't realize this was directed by Bill Duke. I love Bill Duke. Bill Duke, of course, from Predator and, a million other things, but he was fabulous in Predator. I didn't realize he directed A Rage in Harlem. I'm going to have to check that out. I don't think I've seen that movie in, if ever, probably in 25 years. Stephen King's Sometimes They Come Back. That's a fun little movie. It was made for TV. I caught it recently and it was okay. For TVs, sometimes I think you have to give things the break for the medium / limitations they had. Like I just saw that Studio 666, the Foo Fighters movie. Not a great movie by any stretch of the imagination, but you watch it and you go, well, it's a band making a fun movie, probably for real cheap. And you go, oh, wow, they did the best they could. It's fun. It's fun. On May 10th, Madonna's Truth or Dare. Oh, boy. I've never seen that movie. It was a huge controversy and stuff when it came out, but I've actually never watched Truth or Dare. I don't know that I ever will. I don't really have a desire to. But that was a huge controversial movie. Huge movie. May 11th, a movie called Fever with Armand Sant. Oh, that's a made-for-TV movie. So that's weird. Why are they listed made-for-TV movies and theatrical releases? Sam Neill, Marcia Gay Harden, and Armand Asante. Yikes. Okay, here we go. May 17th. Fabulous. What About Bob? Directed by Frank Oz, Bill Murray, Richard Dreyfuss. Dreyfuss is the psychologist. Murray is the, insane person that he's trying to treat, and he follows them to their cabin in the weekend. It's also got, what's her name from Julie Haggerty from Airplane, who's great in it, is Dreyfuss's wife, and it's awesome. What was it? Baby Steps. Just take baby steps. What About Bob is really, really good. Mannequin 2 on the move. The sequel to Mannequin with only one returning actor, Meshach Taylor as Hollywood. Knight Rider 2000, again, another TV movie, but I'll say this though, this TV movie is on, it's on Netflix right now, guys. So if you want to see Knight Rider 2000, it was their update. They're trying to reboot the Knight Rider franchise. And they recast Kit as a red. I don't know if he was still a Trans Am. I don't know cars, but I don't know if he was still a Trans Am, but he was red now. And I don't know, it didn't work for me. It's not a great movie, but it's Knight Rider 2000. Okay, May 24th, Backdraft shot in Chicago. Huge. A bunch of my dad's friends are firefighters, and they all helped with this. Like, they were either on set or they, they consulted on it and stuff. So when Backdraft came out, it was a big deal. Like, it was, oh man, do you know this guy worked with him? Oh my God, he worked with Opie. It's a really great flick, though. More importantly, Hudson Hawk. I love Hudson Hawk. I know what it is. I know exactly how it was received. I know what people think of Hudson Hawk. I love Hudson Hawk. It came out. I saw it in the theaters. May 24th. I would see it again in the theaters. Same day, though. Wow, this is actually a really packed weekend. And Thelma Louise also came out. Obviously, Thelma Louise is huge. Ridley Scott directed it. Susan Sarandon, Gina Davis. It's wonderful. I didn't see this until I was in my mid 30s or something. Like, it was a little young when it came out, and then I just missed it. It was one of those, I knew what it was and what it was about, but I never really sat down and watched it. I loved it. It's really, really great. It deserves all the praise it gets. Thelma Louise is awesome. And Only the Lonely with fan favorite John Candy. It's been a long time. John Candy's attached to his mom, and he's right. And he's going to marry Ali Sheedy. Okay, this is starting to come back to me, but I love John Candy. He's so good. I recently watched the one where he's the writer for Delirious, where he's soap opera writer, and he's just perfect in it. Obviously he's funny, but he's such a good actor. John Candy's fabulous. God bless him. We miss him all the time. Soap Dish rounds out the month. Speaking of soap operas, May 31st ends in Soap Dish, which is really an underrated flick. It's a lot of fun. It is about the goings on behind the scenes of a soap opera, and it's got a ton of people in it. Really, really great. We revisited this a few years ago. It absolutely stands up. Sally Field, Kevin Kline, Robert Downey Jr., Kathy Moriarty, Whoopi Goldberg, Elizabeth Shue, Carrie Fisher, Gary Marshall, Terry Hatcher, Kathy Najimy. Stop it. It's great. Soap Dish is awesome. You guys should, check it out. It's fun.
Now, mass is ready.
It is ready. And so we're getting to it. G.I. Joe 116. Awesome book. Really, really good book. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the change of pace. Not that I needed a change from Benzine, but we've been in Benzine for a while. What was it, 12 or so issues? Earlier, I think I said Brian Steelfree's cover. It's a Michael Golden cover. I apologize. It's really got some Steelfree's top notes, though. I think it's the coloring that's making me think that. Because it's got this neonish, really great looking neon pop to it, and that works. This is a great cover. But so I apologize. I did not see the signature on it, and I just had to look it up because I don't see a sig on the actual cover. It is a Michael Golden cover, and we love Michael Golden's G.I. Joe artwork. G.I. Joe 116, Destro Search and Destroy Part 1 of 3. It says that on top, on the logo, above the G.I. Joe logo. This has got to be one of the early instances. I can think of, DC did it with, because I remember we covered it, you were saying, A Crisis of the Crimson Kryptonite. So one of the early instances, though, of a comic book, a monthly comic book, breaking down stories, 3-part stories, 2-part stories, on the cover, and really defining it for you, and saying, this is part 1 of 3. So yes, it's G.I. Joe 116, but you're picking up, if you picked up just these 3 issues, you get a complete story. That's what this is telling you by saying that. Which is, that's a precursor to trades. That's an absolute precursor to trade paperbacks. So that's pretty cool. In my brain, I'm trying to work it out. I'm trying to think of other notable books that have done that. And there's I can think of just a few like this Crimson Kryptonite stuff, and they were doing it over at, I think they were forced to do it a little bit over at DC because they were crossing over between books so much. So they were they realized they had to brand it. Certainly they added the Superman shield to give people numerical numbers, but also for crossovers. Dark Knight over Metropolis was one of the early ones, and that was just a couple of years ago. So not to say that G.I. Joe's first, but this is in the early age. Now you get it a lot. Now there's man, I could think of some series themselves that just go from miniseries to miniseries, but they keep numerical numbering, and they just say, okay, now this storyline is called blankety blank, and it's it's for the next trade, but it's issue 113 or 13 or 26 or 49. So I want to point that out. That's I think that's key, and I can't think of them doing this on another Joe issue. It wasn't like branded, Assault on Cobra Island or, even Warren Benzine or anything like that. It really wasn't. This is saying the next 3 issues, this is what you're getting, which I like quite a bit. We talked about the neon. Neon looks great. The angle of it, always a wanted sign is fabulous. Even, it's so funny. Like, I don't think the world has done, people don't do one, even at the post office. I don't think they have wanted signs up anymore. But it's a narrative tool that never stops giving, and I hope it never goes away. This dates back to like the before the 1800s, but I feel like the last time we used it was like in the Wild West back in the day. They'd put up wanted no, I guess they probably did do it. I mean, they did do it, but like around town, like posters around town. If you see this guy with a shiny metal face, arrest him. I love it. And then the spotlight always works great in comic books, because it just gives this implication of these other people off panel pursuing them. And that's a trick, a storytelling tool that adds an element of excitement for you comic creators out there. It adds this third character into the mix that can be anything, and it's anything in the eyes and mind of the readers. So anytime you throw a spotlight on somebody off panel, it works. It just works. It never doesn't work.
Yo, Joe!
Destro must die. They don't bury the lead with the name of this story. And we open in the hold of the landlocked freighter back at Cobra Island. Script by Larry Hama, Rod Wiggum back on pencils. Love it. Randy Emberlin inks, Rick Parker letters, Bob Sharon coloring, Bobby Chase editor, DeFalco in chief. And we are checking in now with the dead Cobras. Remember last time we saw them, this 2 episodes ago for us, but last issue for the comic book, the Vipers had busted into the freighter because, they saw that there was a break out of the freighter. So they went in there to check it out, and they found all these dead bodies. Now, this drawing of everything is a little less desiccated than it was in last issue. There were picked over bones. There were skeletal remains, which, if I recall, talking about on the show, it was a little like, wow, that's been a long time. In this one, you can actually make out who's who, so it doesn't feel like they've been dead all that long. But we clearly see Fred. Fred Seven's in here. I think that's Fred in the Viper uniform. That's meant to be Fred. The Raptor is dead. Voltar is dead. Dr. Mindbender and Firefly all killed in the freighter. Now, who is not pictured here? Billy and Zartan, which is the focus of the episode. Cobra Commander realizes they escaped and they got to go get him. But they don't show Captain Min and our favorite character in all of Marvel G.I. Joe, Tyrone, Billy's tag-along friend from San Francisco. There's no justice for Tyrone, guys. Hashtag justice for Tyrone. Tyrone is not mentioned. He's not mentioned amongst the dead. He's not mentioned amongst the escapees. So you know what that means? I think Tyrone's alive and he's out there. So I hope someday either we do see that another author picked up on where Tyrone is, or we learn that he blended in and became a Viper and is rising up the ranks, or he's going to come back in vengeance with the skull of Captain Min, alongside him and wreak vengeance and revenge upon Cobra Commander. But somewhere Tyrone needs justice, and I hope an author has the courage enough to give it to him. because he needs it, guys.
Yo, Joe!
So the Vipers confirm that Billy and Zartan are alive. And we see Cobra Commander for the first time in his new 1991 look. Now, he's also flanked by the Crimson Guard Immortals, which are the new looks. Basically, this whole issue is they must have gotten, I mean this not in a snarky way, they must have gotten a new style guide from Hasbro and said, hey, these are the new looks, so start drawing them like this. So let's talk Cobra Commander. I do not like this Cobra Commander. I do not like this action figure. I don't think it looks good. I don't think it's defendable. I see what they were going for. I see they were trying to get, like, oh, and I guess Crocmaster's also dead too, but he's not shown. Crocmaster was in there too. So rest in peace, Crocmaster too. Sorry, I didn't mean to forget about Crocmaster. I just remember that. But let's talk this Cobra Commander here. So I'm looking at the figure. They were trying to go for like a transparent face, so you could still, like you could still make out what his like his facial features, like, so it's like not so it's still anonymous, but it's not totally obscured. I don't think it works on any level. The look of the figure, his shoulders, everything is just too big. His pants flare too much. He's got a cool, like, little glider launcher thing, which is neat. But it's not. I don't like it. His suit's too busy. He's got the epaulets and everywhere. It's just the big Cobra symbol, like, on his gut instead of his chest, looks weird. It's like shoot me in the stomach. What's the point of a mask if you're gonna kind of show your? I mean, I guess it looks like it doesn't work for me. It doesn't work for me on the figure, and it doesn't work for me in the comic book, and it didn't work for me. I think they use this on the DIC stuff. I think you should have liked this. I don't like this look. This doesn't look like Cobra Commander to me at all. This looks like a Cobra Viper, like minus some of the gold, like if you take off the Cobra on top of the helmet, and just make it a kind of a flat gold helmet, it looks like it would be like a Cobra Glider Viper or something. I'm not a fan. Now, I understand he's got his supporters out there, and I respect that, but it is the fact that it came with like kind of a functional glider is pretty cool. So that's neat. Not knocking that. This figure does not work for me. Yeah, I think it needs to be a little less busy. I don't know. I mean, it does kind of say a little more like getting in the mix a little bit, like he's getting dirty in the fighting. But interesting. Now it's funny. It says that some of on the action figure for this, the mask and head they're two separate molds, but they're held together with glue. Some can be removed, but more often than not, it damages the mask. And they included what his face. Here's a picture of it. This is from yojo.com of what his face looks like without it. And it's hilarious. And it's, it's sculpted to fit under a mask. So the proportions are weird, but like massive eyebrows, the biggest eyebrows. Like it's awesome. Like that's neat. That part's neat. But ultimately, as a toy, it is not a good looking figure for me. That's just my opinion, guys. Anyway, to the comic book, this is a page of exposition, and we find out what's going on. And we learn that Billy and Zartan have escaped. They stole a Hurricane vertical takeoff and landing plane. We see some guards trussed up, and Cobra Commander is very upset about this. Very upset.
Yo, Joe!
So he's, he wants them dead. Tomax and Zaymot try to, distract him with the fact that they just got filthy rich from this operation in benzene. And he's like, I don't care. And he throws all these stock certificates and oil futures. He just throws them out the helicopter, which seems it's Cobra Commander dumb. So it works, but it just seems dumb. And and who is it? Tomex or Zaymot? One of them reminds him that the Destro operation is ready to roll. And so that distracts Cobra Commander from throwing all the money that they just earned away. And he wants that, quote, uppity foreigner put in his place once and for all. Yeah. And this, like that, and now this is not a comment on Rod Wigham's drawing of it. This is a comment on the design of the look. It just, that gold helmet, it just looks weird.
Yo, Joe!
And in Scotland, we're going to check in and we're going to find out that Destro really is in retirement with the Baroness. Now, she doesn't look happy. He's toasting. He's got a glass of wine or sherry or something. And he's no mask. He's in his hunter's coat. And she says, as far as I'm concerned, the view has been permanently spoiled by this new, ugly housing development. Their neighbor, Lord Malaprop, so he sold off more of his acreage. And so now there's a housing development that's encroaching on Castle Destro. And if you remember, it was a front for a Cobra Commander assault way back in issue 87. But now Destro assures her that his security people have, cleared things up and blah, blah, blah. And so now here we go into the housing development and we're going to investigate and see what's happening here. Taking us down into the village, right? I guess it used to be Lord Malaprop's place. I guess it's no longer Lord Malaprop's land.
Yo, Joe!
Now, Destro and Baroness are driving through town, through this housing development, and they hit a bump in the road, and it's a big power generator. So their groundskeeper, McHeath, the gameskeeper rather, McHeath, who was probably out there like hunting with them. That's what they were doing. They were on a hunting expedition that day. He says that maybe if they looked into this, like they should, like that's a lot of power. Maybe we should look into this and be Snoopy. And Baroness is like, mind your own business. Like he brought you here to hunt, not this. And saying that they checked out all these workers and that the workers are exactly who they're supposed to be. So as they drive away, McHeath insults her, calls her Four Eyes, and he calls somebody. And he says, it's all clear, go get one. So who is McHeath and who is he calling?
Yo, Joe!
I'll say this. This intro, while I like it, it is a little tricky. Like it's a little complicated to understand exactly who's who and who's setting up what and like what everyone's up to, especially when you get to this page where we see like that or actually, well, in a couple of pages we learn, that mind controls like it. It's a little clunky setup here. So we see this guy, some rando worker. He's leaving a building, some hut set up for the construction guys, and he gets hit on the back of the head with a blackjack, and I believe that was Flint that hit him. And it's three guys the G.I. Joe team. It's Flint, Lowlight, and it's a Big Ben, the big guy. Big British guy, mate. And they're, and it's, by Lowlight, it's the new version of Lowlight. So this is, again, talking about, like, we're into the, like, the 91 figures. So this is Lowlight where he's got a black beard, now black hair. Like, he just looks different. It's basically a whole new person. And they're checking out this guy that they just clocked on the head. And they're saying that, he checks out. Like, he's got a local shirt, local clothing, blah, blah, blah. But then they're like, yeah, but he's got American dental work. He's got like fillings and no, they're like, no, the silver fillings can be had anywhere. Like it may not be, and then they realize they get all the way down to looking at his boxer shorts and he's got C-Mart brand cheap underwear. And so that means he bought it in the USA. So now we learn who this is because we didn't even really know who was doing what. And now we get to this, final panel, and it's Lowlight says, calls him Flint calls him Lowlight, Flint calls Big Ben. So we get this revelation for who it is. So this is really cool storytelling, guys. If you look at this whole page from the start, you open with someone we don't know, introduction to a hand and some violence. Three mysterious figures drag him away. We're getting closer to the mysterious figures. We can make them out, but since One lowlight's wearing a different outfit. Two, Big Ben. I think we've met Big Ben before in this, but I don't remember. But he's certainly not an identifiable caricature, identifiable person by their outline. And we do see a beret, but a lot of people can wear a beret. We get a little closer, and it's a little more clear that they're definitely military people. And then you get this final reveal, and they use their names. So for the reader, this is a page down reveal, which works really, really well for me. And so we see that the G.I. Joe team's checking out these workers, and we still don't know what's going on.
Yo, Joe!
But there's two dudes on bikes that are riding up to the village, and they like actual looks like bikes, like 10-speed kind of bikes, and it's Billy and Zartan, and so they're going to Destro for help. Zartan says, out of all the Cobras, Destro seemed to have the most honor. While the Joes notice them too, and while they're there, this worker is starting to wake up. The Joes have stripped him clean. He is naked, which is hilarious. They couldn't just check his clothing, like check the tags on him. They stripped him. That's hilarious. But Billy and Zartan, both being trained ninjas, having Zartan kind of be a trained ninja sticks in my throat a little bit. But they suss out the G.I. Joe team too. So they don't know that they're Joes, but they do see that there's three guys clocking them. And that's where Lowlight clocks that they've clocked him. So everyone knows that stuff's up. And so Flint's like, well, let's get moving before they blow our cover.
Yo, Joe!
This page we get, I love the use of Zartan's holograms. I wish we had more of this when Zartan was around. He would always just disguise himself as, other people or whatever. He straight up turns into a werewolf. I think that's fun. I think it's real fun, especially because they're in the Scottish Highlands, which is, all full of, magic and mystery and monsters and demons and things like that. So I think that really works great. He scares off Flint a little bit, and while he's doing that, Billy escapes ninja speed, and then the werewolf disappears. So Zartan, probably blending into a tree or something like that. So that worked perfectly. But now Big Ben is like, blimey, we got goblins and wraiths around the islands. I forget that terrible accent. But Flint realizes it's shapeshifters and ninjas. And the ninjas realize that those were Joes. What were they doing there? So everyone knows they're there, but they don't really know where each other stands, which is a nice little tete-a-tete.
Yo, Joe!
Inside Castle Destro, we get Metalhead show back up. Now he was the undercover agent in Benzine, working for Cobra Commander, but really working for Destro. And he's there to report that Cobra Commander is probably going to retaliate against Destro. And Destro kind of blows him off. He's like, "No, man, I'm no threat. Like, I'm retired. Like, I'm semi-retired, rather. I'm not even wearing the family battle mask any longer." But Heavy Metal cannot, or Metalhead, sorry, not Heavy Metal, Metalhead rather, cannot get him to listen. And he's like, "You know what? Like, I'm fine. Like, we're good. We're going to be able to defend, we'll be able to defend ourselves, etc., and so on and so forth. I'm going to enjoy my time with the lovely Baroness." And Metalhead is not hearing it. He's like, "This is the real Cobra Commander dealing with. This guy's crazy. Like, you got to prepare yourself."
Yo, Joe!
And in the morning, a G.I. Joe Tomahawk comes flying up to pick up these Joes or, check in with them. We've got Lady J, and you've got Hawk in his new gear, Snake Eyes in his new gear, Lady J still in her gear because they never gave her another outfit. And they know it's heavy because you don't just bring Snake Eyes along for the ride. And so Flint's kind of reporting in, and as that's happening, we hear more helicopters. And what Flint's just kind of giving a recap. And actually, to be honest, this is important because the beginnings of this book, first few pages, were a little unclear exactly kind of what they were doing and what was going on, which is fine because, you spoon feed everything. But this middle panel on the bottom kind of clarifies things for us, the reader.
Yo, Joe!
And, wow. Here we go. Sorry, I jumped 2 pages. I'm like, God, that really jumped the storyline. All of a sudden, we got V2Ls getting shut up. No. We got helicopters whooping in. Cobra helicopters. They're on their way. And Cobra Commander is just straight up assaulting the fortress. It's Cobra Commander and the twins. And we see that the construction, quote unquote, construction team the whole time, they weren't really actual bulldozers. They were Cobra paralyzers. So they took off the front of the bulldozer and just remount the gun. So the whole time, like, these weapons have been sitting underneath Destro's nose. And now there's an airstrike heading in. Cobra Hurricanes are heading in. They're attacking Castle Destro. So just ramps from 0 to 60 real quick.
Yo, Joe!
Some Scottish dude is screaming that they're under attack. Man the battlements. Destro is now in his Iron Grenadier look, his gold look. He's ready for battle. Baroness she's geared up in her leathers, and she says, "You knew something was in the works, didn't you, Destro? You were pretending indifference in case there was a spy." He says, "Some sort of instinct, my dear. That's why I laid our battle togs out this morning and had the guards on double alert. So Destro's striking back, and it's on. He's firing his wrist rockets, etc."
Yo, Joe!
2 wrist rockets take out 2 of those Hurricanes, which is great. And even it's even point out, it's like 2 wrist rockets for 2 aircraft. That's some shooting, Destro. But as that happens, one of those planes hits the housing development that's been in place, and they see that one of those houses isn't an actual real house; it's a shell. And inside that house, there's just a ton of dirt. That means Cobra's tunneling, and nice. It's good storytelling on this page because you get you track all the movement really well. This is a testament to Wiggum's layouts and execution here. So the first panel, you get some nice fun explosions. These Hurricanes getting hit by Destro's wrist rockets. They're traveling from left to right, kind of to the lower right of that panel. Second one, the camera shifts a little bit, and we see where Castle Destro is in relation to these planes that are going down. So it puts that in perspective, but they're also still heading towards the lower right of the panel. Third panel, these are all widescreen. They're still moving to the right, and as they crest into the ground, the angle of it kicks up on the right side and hits one of those houses, which lights on fire. And then in the fourth panel, the fire in the house and all the stuff that our eyes need to be on is still on the right side of the screen, and the camera now shifts to put the castle in perspective again to show us where in relation to the castle this new bit of information is, which is the giant house full of dirt that they've been tunneling. And then in the fifth panel, rather, still widescreen, it centers us with Destro's face, and this, his eyes are wide open, and so is Baroness too, but it's Destro's face like of astonishment, like this is new information for him. So it really works well of this left to right, kind of brings us down the page and then snaps us back right to the middle of the page at the bottom. This is it's a well laid out page, actually.
Yo, Joe!
And now it's what was it, McCready? What was it? Groundskeeper McCullough? What was his name? Groundskeeper McKeith. Gamekeeper McKeith. He's in one of Destro's weapons, and he's firing shots. He says, "Let's see what's in the rest of them houses and those trailers while we're at it." So he starts hitting all the other houses, and we see that in one of them is a brainwave scanner. The other one, we see what was all that dirt was coming from, and it's a giant tunnel. So now Destro realizes that the workers, they seem legitimate under interrogation because they were zombied by the brainwave scanner, and the houses were hollow shells to hold the dirt excavated by the tunneling operation. So it's all under Destro's nose. He's been fooled. The assault is not there to take the castle. It's just to make sure that all the bad guys, like to pin them down within the castle so no one can escape while they set charges to blow the castle.
Yo, Joe!
What I really like about this is Destro's ability to, in the moment, identify Cobra Commander's plot and not fool around with it and just go, oh, if that's what's happening, like he gets it right away. It's good. It's real good. It's similar to like how they deal with Batman. And like he sees things in the movie and goes, oh no, this is happening now, because that's how good he is. That's how good a tactician Destro is, etc. So now McKeith, he's dropping the drawbridge, and he yells for them to jump so they can get out, so Destro and Baroness can get out, and they do. They jump quite a ways, actually. It's a pretty good jump, but it's old McKeith. which is great. And he drives out, and as he does, Cobra Commander hits go on all these explosives that they've set, and they basically destroy Destro's operation. So imagine all the Iron Grenadiers that are in there. And we learn in the bottom final panel that it's not just ordinary Gamekeeper McKeith. It's a Joe. It's Chuckles. It's his name. Undercover is his game.
Yo, Joe!
And they're trying to escape on a Razorback. Cobra Commander sees it fleeing. He yells, for them to shoot that Razorback down, etc. And the Joes knew that was Chuckles' mission the whole time. So he's trying to get out and get to the Joes. And the Joes need to call up their Tomahawk for some backup, etc. And now at the helicopter park, Zartan and Billy get in the mix because they know they need to save Destro too, because he's the only guy that's going to help them. Otherwise, Cobra Commander is going to be on their tail. I really dig the way that Wiggum draws Billy's like karate kick here. It's just a simple thing, but it's real reminiscent of the way he used to, he would draw Storm Shadow. It's like they're using the same form. I like it.
Yo, Joe!
So the Razorback's been knocked out by Cobra Commander's forces. He's telling Tomac and Zaymot to finish them off. Destro, Baroness, and Chuckles they're pulling a Sundance Kid and Butch Cassidy. They're going to die here, and Chuckles is laughing. Like he's like, I know we got an ace up our sleeve.
Yo, Joe!
And it's a G.I. Joe Tomahawk that shows up and just starts laying down some suppressive fire, except it's too hot for them to land. So they can't really stop and get them. They can just help them get away. And while they're doing that, Cobra Commander grabs a rocket launcher from a Heat Viper. Now, have we seen a Heat Viper before? I feel like we may have, but if not, this is definitely one of the early, like name calls of them and features of them. And he grabs the Heat Viper's rocket launcher, and he hits the Tomahawk, which makes me go like, if the Heat Viper's not shooting at that Tomahawk, what's the point of having a Heat Viper?
Yo, Joe!
And maybe that's why the Cobra Commander's in that. Maybe it's more of an action outfit. Listen, I'm not here to, crap on Cobra Commander's looks, but he does get into the action, and he fires the missile, and that missile hits that Tomahawk, and it brings the guys down, Lift Ticket, Flint, and everything. So they need to land, but they're not landing near the pickup. But we do get the Cobra helicopter showing up, and it's got Zartan and Billy, and they're like, get on board. We'll answer, we'll figure your questions later. And as they're doing it, that's when Baroness gets hit.
Yo, Joe!
And she falls out of the helicopter. Helicopter cannot stop for her. Billy drops a knuckle paralysis on Destro. And they all make their air shockage death touch. And they all make their getaway. And with the Tomahawk is following them. So the Tomahawk didn't have to land, but it couldn't swoop back for a rescue. So they're all making their getaway. And Baroness is once again held in captivity by Cobra Commander. I can't say I'm a massive fan of that. Not in any, like, can't put women in peril way, just because we've seen it a lot. Like, how fascinating would it have been if Destro got caught and the Baroness had to go back in him? But I get it. It's about Destro doing it. There's not a lot of options, not a lot of people that he would care about enough to go back for it. So I get why you do that, but we've seen her. Like remember the assault on Cobra Island? She was trussed up across the Hiss for the whole battle. So I'm curious to see if they just truss her up for the next 2 issues, or if they actually give her something to say for it.
Yo, Joe!
And we've got Roadblock in a file card feature. It's got 2 pages of Roadblock talk. So if you love Roadblock, this is the book to get it. And over in the post box of the pit, we got letters from Thomas Wheeler, Tucson, Arizona, Ray Andrews out of Issaquah, Washington, John Johnson, Portland, Connecticut, Jeff Bone, Wisconsin Dells, Wisconsin, Ed Dillon, Oakville, Ontario, and Kirk Reams out of Lamont, Florida. Fabulous. I hope you guys enjoyed this conversation, because I certainly did as well. We'll see you next week, and now you Joe, and Joeing is half the battle.